All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dynasty Wire. My name is Ivan Herrera, joined alongside my partner in crime, Mr. Spencer Smith.
Yes, sir.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I am excited for this one. This one's one I know we have been wanting to do for a while, and we will do more today. I'll let Ivan tell you the specifics of the drafts, but we'll be doing different types of drafts as well, kind of going forward. But I'm very
Right.
happy about this one. Very happy about some of the news that I get to discuss today too. Right before we
Right.
hop into it, I think there'll be a good little discussion before then. But man, yeah, dude, life's been going good, man. How about yourself?
It's been going really well. And just like Mr. Spencer Smith alluded to, we're coming together. We're bringing the forces of the Daily Dynasty show with Spencer, with the Ivan Herrera show with Ivan to make Dynasty Wire's first mock draft. So we have a 15 round mock draft. It's a startup dynasty super flex, two quarterback, obviously. So the strategies are a little bit different than you're accustomed to in regular redraft leagues. But like Spencer said, he's going to go over the news first. So he'll discuss some things that are pertinent to the fantasy community as far as news that will make an impact. And of course, from there, we'll get into the mock draft and then round it out with the verse of the week. So, Mr. Spencer Smith, the news is all yours.
All righty, let's get it. Well, first things first, Stephon Diggs never looked more happy in these recent pictures that were uploaded by Houston Texans in their H-Town jerseys, which, by the way, I'm a fan. There's a lot of mixed reviews online about seems like you either love it or you hate it. I don't really know if there's anybody in the middle, but I do seem to really like these jerseys. But yeah, so Stephon Diggs probably pretty happy he'll get a little bit more accurate balls thrown his way. The 49ers are working on a deal with free agent tight end Logan Thomas, so that'll be definitely interesting. And speaking of deals, which we're about to get to, sounds like Tyreek Hill could be getting a new contract sooner than later. Now that now that Justin Jefferson's deal is done, I spoke to Drew Rosenhaus about getting his client Tyreek Hill more money to put him back in line with the top 5 highest paid at the position. Drew Rosenhaus saying, quote, I have a fluid line of communication with Chris Greer and Brandon Shore. The Dolphins know how we feel. So the thing that's a little bit confusing to me about this is it kind of seemed like this time last year we were being
Mhm.
told by Tyreek Hill that he's only got 2 years left, like he's going to play out the end of his deal and then he's done, which for how productive he's being right now would be a very, very good way to go out in fantasy because, even in Dynasty, these next 2 years, I'm going to get some really good production out of this. And then,
Mhm.
you're going to have to ride it till the wheels fall off. But now, we heard a few days ago he was demanding it, whether it be an extension or just a rework to his contract. And then yesterday, of course, it sounds like I, I don't know if this is just for more money in these next 2 years or if it will
Mhm.
also actually be an extension. So, but real quick, Ivan, what do how do you feel about the fact that the Dolphins might be either extending or just giving Tyreek Hill more money?
Yeah, this is a very interesting piece of news because I remember a few years ago, I think it was 2 years ago when he first joined Miami, I was a little bit reluctant to actually draft him in one of my startups. And I actually had the opportunity to take him in the fifth round, I think it was. And I took James Cook. So
Mm,
mistakes were made because we did not know he was going to be as
yikes.
productive as he was. And I think, yeah, you're right. I think some of the things that we need to first analyze is, of course, the age, right? He's already
Mm,
30, and I know that what separates him is explosiveness. Sorry, I couldn't get that. It was
right.
really weird to say. His explosiveness. But the
Words.
point is, I think the success that he's had in this offense continues to add value to what he can provide for your fantasy team. I obviously wouldn't look at you sideways if you got him a little early in your drafts, but yeah, I think this guy is still so productive. He has a very unique skill set that obviously separates
Mm,
him and makes him a top tier option. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think the main thing from a NFL perspective, like in real life, is how they structure the contract because obviously you already signed Waddle to this huge extension. You don't want to hamper too much of your weapons by being top heavy with these contracts. So it depends on how they restructure it with maybe
mm,
more guaranteed money, maybe some
right.
friendly deal that won't affect the cap. So I think how they should approach it.
And kind of this is going back to what you've alluded to on this show multiple times over this offseason is the difference between you know, whether it be how good teams are ran and
Yeah.
also to like team friendly players. I'm not going
Right.
to say that Jalen Waddle is not a team friendly player, but I will just point out look at the differences in his contract and a contract like Devonta Smith. Devonta
Right.
Smith is, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 12 to 13, maybe 15, but I think it's like 12 or 13 million less than Jalen Waddle.
Right.
And to me, and I made a video on this a day or two after his contract was signed, was like, basically, why would he sign this contract was the purpose of that video. And to me, it seems like the reason you sign a contract like that, if you're Devonta Smith, when you know your value in the open market would be way more than what you signed for, to me,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like they just extended A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts got the big contract the year before. They just got Saquon Barkley. He wants to be in Philly, wants to still get paid. But to me, it seems like I would rather keep as much of the band together as possible over the next few years. That I
Right.
will take this, not necessarily a pay cut, because you are getting you're getting a promotion essentially, but less of a deal comparatively to the other players that, number one, like in my belief, Devonta Smith, I would much rather have a Devonta Smith on my team than a Jalen Waddle. I love Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
But the fact that he got paid that much more is just, just kind of shows a little bit of the different, I guess, in mindset.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
but that's just what I think of it.
Yes, sir.
But speaking of contracts and teams and whatnot, people close to the team expect Giants tight end Darren Waller to retire, per Adam Schefter. Now, of course, this is the last bit of news I got, and it is the biggest news here. Of course, we know that yesterday, finally, a record-breaking deal. The Vikings and three-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Justin Jefferson reached an agreement on a 4-year, $140 million contract extension that includes $110 million guaranteed, makes him not only the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history, but the highest paid non-QB NFL history. Sources tell ESPN Justin Jefferson's deal includes $88.743 million due at signing. Whoa, I didn't even know that. The highest non-QB guarantee at signing in NFL history, and it resets the wide receiver market. WME Football negotiated and confirmed the deal. So, this deal, which of course, just kind of break it down in simple terms, 4-year, $140 million contract, $110 million guaranteed. 88 of that million guaranteed was due at signing. But to basically break it down year to year, it's essentially a little under a 30 million guaranteed for 4 years, and right at 35 million a year for if he hits all the incentives and whatnot. So not exactly over that 40 million like a lot of people thought it would be, or was basically saying you're going to have to pay him this or he walks. But nonetheless, an absolutely record-breaking deal. Ivan, before I get to my thoughts on this, I mean, when you see this go through, what
Yeah.
what what did you think of yesterday?
Man, I mean, we thought, I mean, because we were waiting for this because I think this is the biggest chip, if you will, like the biggest domino. Because
Mm,
then from there, we're gonna see, okay, what are the Bengals gonna do with paying with Jamar Chase, right?
mm.
And I think that, well, yeah, first and foremost, Justin Jefferson has been phenomenal, especially for fantasy football. Just an absolute monster. The production that he's been able to provide for your teams has probably been spectacular. I remember I had him 2 years ago, and it was absolutely so much fun just watching him perform for my team. And I remember the one performance that's in my head still was that game versus the Bills, where he was just making these incredible catches. And but yeah, I think number one, it's great for Minnesota to have their superstar secured. They have their number one weapon for their rookie quarterback, and of course, with them having a strong now nucleus with
Mm.
with the quarterback, you have your star wide receiver. All of it now is going to be contingent on how they pay the rest of their weapons. Not that they have too many with Jordan Addison and with TJ Hawkinson, but yeah, I think it's a great contract. And yeah, I was surprised to not see it be 40. That's what everyone was talking
Right,
about with
right.
$40 million guaranteed, or rather a year pay. But yeah, I think overall great contract. What do you think? What are your thoughts, rather?
Yeah, when I first saw this come through, and I'll try to get through this quickly because I know we really want to get to this mock draft. When I saw this
Yeah.
come through, I'm not even joking. My first initial thoughts were Cowboys are cooked. CD Lamb. I mean, this is because listen to this. So I was looking up their stats, okay,
Yeah.
and in the past 4 seasons, just check me out here and
Sure.
tell me why. Tell me why CD Lamb doesn't deserve a contract just like this if Jefferson's going to get one. Both
Mhm.
of them 4 seasons in. Justin Jefferson has 3 All-Pros. CeeDee Lamb has 2. Justin Jefferson has 3 Pro Bowls. CeeDee Lamb has 3 Pro Bowls. Justin
Yeah.
Jefferson has 392 catches. CeeDee Lamb has 395 catches. Justin Jefferson, 5,899 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 5,145 yards. Justin Jefferson, 31 total touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, 35 total touchdowns. I mean, they are like neck and neck. Of
Wow.
course, Jefferson's got one more Pro Bowl, one more All Pro, and a little over 700 more yards than him. But CeeDee's got the same amount of Pro Bowls, 3 more catches, and 4 more touchdowns. So, this was exactly like you said. This is exactly what CeeDee Lamb, what Jamar Chase, what these players were waiting on to see. What is this going to look like? And then you got to think, because in my opinion, if these players are fully healthy, T. Higgins, in my opinion, is the better of these like 1B type of players. So T. Higgins,
Mhm.
Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, if they're all fully healthy, which is the
Right.
biggest, that's why I would rather go Devonta Smith, because we can't say that they're always going to be fully healthy. But after Jalen Waddle signed his deal, we see T.
Mhm.
Higgins go on Instagram and say, yeah, but if I complain, then, they say I'm the bad guy or whatever he says, alluding to the fact that he wants a bigger contract than what apparently since he's willing to give him. Look at what somebody who's been injured has been able to get. Look at
Mhm.
what Devonta Smith took, and he's better. So a contract like this really just the whole league, if you got a player like a CeeDee Lamb, like a Jamar Chase, or a player in that next tier like the Jalen Waddles, I mean, now this is really going to open the floodgates, and Justin
Right.
Jefferson being that pioneer. So that was my thoughts was, dang, first of all, incredible contract, but
Mhm.
wow, this is really going to be crazy to see how all these other pieces fall. So,
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Spencer. That was our news of the week. Now we're going to go ahead and get into this mock draft that we've been so looking forward to do. So let me go ahead and open up the sleeper app for us. Let me go ahead and bring up our draft board, so that way you can see how it looks like. And then let me go ahead and make sure that we can claim our spots here. Spencer, can you access our mock draft just fine?
Yes. Hold on one second. I think I got
Sure.
kicked out here.
Okay.
Let me
Here.
reopen it again.
Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead and what I'll do is I'll claim a spot. And what I want to do is, Spencer, I want to be a good host and I want to give you first dibs on where you want to pick.
Okay.
And from
Okay.
there, the cool thing is we'll let the CPU from there just set based on where ADP is going. And then you and me can obviously be the ones that'll determine our picks. But go ahead. The floor, do you want picks 1 through 12? You get to choose where you want to draft.
Now, I could go pretty easy of a draft, in my opinion, here and get a top pick and secure those quarterbacks. But I actually want to, I'm going to give myself a back spot here. I'm going to go with the 110. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay, great. So then what I'll do is, just so we can talk strategy here, I'm going to go ahead and take the 12th. I'm going to go ahead and also
Okay.
go to the back end. I had a draft where I was the 11th. So what I'll do is, I think this will be a good opportunity for us to kind of gauge how we can see what our opponent is doing as far as strategy, and then just talk through, of course, our picks from there. So let me go
Let's
ahead
do
and
it.
start it. And what I'll do is I'm going to kill the noise real quick, because last time when I did on one of my streams, it was really loud. So let me go ahead and kill that real quick, and then I'll go ahead and start the draft, and we'll let the CPU do its thing.
Yes.
All right, here we go. So we'll recap this as it goes, and then we can obviously share some feedback. So just like you had predicted, we see Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, the aforementioned Justin Jefferson, CJ Stroud, Lamar Jackson, CeeDee Lamb, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, all off the board. And Spencer, you are on the clock now. And as you can see there, 6 quarterbacks already within the first 9 picks.
Yeah, so with it being super flex, you really, really want to kind of take control of that. So here at the 110, I have got I have got some options. And of course, I don't want to take Caleb Williams as my first pick here. So this is something that I would kind of say as, if you're going into these super flex drafts and you're sitting here kind of at the back of the first two rounds, back of the first round, you're going to make the turn be at the beginning of the second round. In my opinion, if there's not a QB that I want, like if Joe Burrow was right here, if it went Jamar Chase and then let's say Amon-Ra St. Brown 109 and Joe Burrow was sitting here, I would take Joe Burrow as my first quarterback. I do not
Mm,
want to take Caleb Williams. I can understand if I was maybe at the 112, possibly I would say, you know what, let me get Caleb Williams and then Anthony Richardson, or Caleb Williams and maybe a Marvin Harrison. But in my
mm.
opinion, right here, I already know I'm still going to be able to get one of the guys that I want at the turn. I know I'm going to be able to get one of the guys that I want at the turn. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a top wide receiver here, and I'm just going to go wide receiver, quarterback, and fill out those spots. So
Okay.
immediately right here, I'm going to go Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, this is typically against what I would normally do in the first round, but even in a super flex, but I just genuinely believe that Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to get me. And listen, he just got that big contract, so I've got him for a while. He is going
Yep.
to be a pillar in this offense for me, and I'm going to be able to get what I want out of him in this dynasty. And of course, I'll still be able to get my quarterback here in the second round.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I like it. So now I'm stuck on a very similar dilemma. Only upside that I like to have to enjoy is the fact that I get two back-to-back picks. Now, there's two players here that I'm eyeing. One of them, of course, is going to be a quarterback. And Spencer, one thing that I've noticed myself doing a lot in this situation is I like going with a quarterback and a wide receiver. Now, we see a tier break though within this range, especially with the wide receivers that we're already taking with Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. The next one that we see here on the tier is Marvin Harrison. And of course, what I'm going to lean on first is going to get my quarterback, which is Anthony Richardson. I'm going to take that one here
Great
first.
pick.
So
Great pick.
get Anthony Richardson there. And it's insane, too. I saw this stat about the production that he provides on the ground compared to what he does in the air. And I think the ratio was like 48% of his of his fantasy value of his fantasy points came from rushing. Now, I believe with him playing more games, hopefully, cross our fingers that he'll be healthy. That'll be a little bit more even with the passing. But what I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to go ahead because in my other draft, I went quarterback and I went a running back. And I don't know about you, Spencer, but I tend to shy away from running back in Dynasty Startups until much later, just so I can
Yes, I agree.
secure myself wide receivers as well as quarterbacks, being that they tend to be a little bit more, rather, they tend to carry their value a little bit longer
Yep.
in Dynasty. So what I'm going to do is just to cut my talking time short, I'm going to go ahead and take Marvin Harrison.
Great pick. Yeah, I kind of debated going Marvin Harrison over Amon-Ra because I knew I'd be able to get the stack of him and Kyler Murray here, which is
Yep.
something I've not been able to achieve. But I can't bring myself to take Marvin Harrison when there's a player like an Amon-Ra St. Brown over him. But
Right.
nonetheless, great picks there. So now that I'm on the board back at the turnaround here of the second round, I've got my pick of the litter between the Justin Herberts, the Jordan Loves, and the Kyler Murray. So those three right there, the reason this is very interesting is, yes, if I had went Marvin Harrison, it's no doubt I'm going Kyler Murray right here.
Yep.
Coming off of 2 injury season, I believe Kyler Murray's fully back, but to take him this high right here without that kind of padding of a stack to kind of ease my mind in making that pick, I got to eliminate him and go either Justin Herbert or Jordan Love. Justin Herbert's got the big contract. Jordan Love, we know he just re-signed that extension, but in my opinion, I'm going to go with the QB that I believe, especially in this new offense, will have a much better chance of flourishing, and the defense will be way, way better. He's not always having to play catch up, and so I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. I love Justin Herbert in Dynasty, so now we're looking at Justin Herbert and Amon-Ra St. Brown as my start. You started with Anthony Richardson, Marvin Harrison. Christian McCaffrey went 202. Bijan Robinson went 204. The Jordan Love, A.J. Brown, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nakua. Kyler Murray falls to the 210, Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs. And now you are back on the clock here in the third round.
Yeah, and the way that we set it up, and I highly recommend everyone that is playing Dynasty, especially a startup, because there's so many rounds, throw in a third round reversal. So that way, after the 212, it goes back to the end of the draft. That way, it can just balance things out a little bit, being that, of course, it's a super flex. So these positions tend to fly fast. So for me, the bummer on this one, Spencer, I just got sniped a few picks before. So I was really hoping to get my Kyler Murray pick there in the beginning of the third round to complete the stack with at least one of my players with Marvin Harrison. But unfortunately, the other option I was looking for also was removed was Sam Laporta, because this is also a tight end premium. So you're seeing there. Now I have to pivot from my original strategy, hoping that I was going to get myself Kyler Murray here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm looking at the board and we see Tyreek Hill, Jonathan Taylor, Malik Neighbors, Trevor Lawrence, Jaden Daniels, Chris Olave, and Travis Etienne. And I know that we spoke about Tyreek Hill. And you know what? I've never had Tyreek Hill in any of my
Don't
mock
make
drafts.
the same mistake twice.
I'm going to go ahead and balance out my team a little bit, being that I have a prospect of the future that I love with Marvin Harrison. I'm going to go ahead and go with a weapon that we know is going to be extremely explosive, extremely involved with that McDaniels offense to get you some good production. I'm taking Tyreek Hill.
All right, so Tyreek Hill goes. Malik Neighbors goes next. A little bit. I was hoping that Jonathan Taylor would go so that my mind would be made up. We've got a long time till this next pick.
That's right.
And let me just say this. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we're going to be doing more mock drafts as the offseason goes. So, for example, today is a super flex with a third round reversal. The next one, we're going to be doing ones that are 1 QB with no third round reversal, 1 QB with a third round reversal, super flex with no third round reversal. So today, super flex, third round reversal, and we're going to try to get to all those different types for you guys. Obviously, we're not going to go too niche of triple tight end with, we're not going to get too weird, but probably the 4 main ones. So super flex with third round, super flex, no third round, stuff like that. But now with my pick and my start has been Justin Herbert, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it's really important here. Due to this third round reversal, we got a long time. And the next time that I am on the clock, the best quarterback there is going to be the Jared Goffs, the Drake Mays, and the J.J. McCarthy's. So to me, I really do want to lock up this quarterback position. I would love to take Jonathan Taylor right here. I was really hoping he was going to get picked by Team 11, but unfortunately that didn't happen because that would have easily made me go probably Trevor Lawrence. But
Jonathan Taylor.
I think I am going to wait because with Amon-Ra St. Brown and the fact that this other QB got paid, I think what I'm going to do is wait, see if I can land Jared Goff with my next pick, get that Jared Goff Amon-Ra stack. And with this pick, I'm gonna words they fail me. With this pick, I am gonna go Jonathan Taylor. So
there we go.
We're gonna go Jonathan Taylor off the board. Normally, don't go running back too early. I really would have waited for my 4th round pick to do that, but the fact that he's on the board, I can get him with this 3rd round reversal. It's way too difficult. Like I said, if Team 11 would have not taken Malik Neighbors, but speaking of Malik Neighbors, then it goes Trevor Lawrence, Drake London, Brock Purdy, Jaden Daniels goes at the 307, Saquon Barkley at the 308. Definitely, even still in Dynasty, love that pick for the next couple of years. Travis Etienne, Chris Olave, Dak Prescott goes 311, Kyron Williams, Roma Dunze going at the 4-1, and we'll kind of hit on this just real quick. Not the biggest fan of Roma Dunze in Dynasty. I'm going to be honest. It's going to take you a few years to get your ROI on that one. Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, Trey McBride, Devonta Smith goes 405. Michael Pittman, Jared Goff. Oh, didn't see that. That's a bummer. That's a bummer. Brock Bowers and then Devon A. Chan. Wow, that's a bummer. That is a bummer.
Really is.
All right. Well, with that being said, we are going to pivot.
And as you're making your selection here, I wanted to tell you too, this is part of, this happens a lot. We have a game plan that gets easily broken up, and this is where I can't emphasize enough. You can do all the mock drafts in the world and everything will still go not according to plan when your draft actually comes. Now, seldom would it actually work out, but the thing is though, like even right now, what you're seeing, like for example, I know, I'm making the Tyreek Hill pick. I'm gonna have to put on quarterback, but this is where you have to make very unique and very specific selections. So, for example, go ahead. Oh, did we lose? But let me unmute your mic. It looks like your mic is unmuted. Okay, sorry.
Hey,
you had raised your hand. Let me give my time over to Spencer. He had requested for some time to speak.
Well, no, I was just saying my mic was muted. I couldn't hear you. So, but no, yeah, you're right. I mean, the fact that the the mock drafts, and this is even just a computer. Like the computer has already sniped me. So when you have 12 real people in the draft, that's only going to make it that much weirder. But that being said, I've made my decision here. I definitely could go Tua, but I'm not. So with my next pick here, I am going to go with the recently signed wide receiver one for CJ Stroud. I'm going to go Nico Collins. So very happy about that pick. Dalton Kincaid goes next, and now you are back on the board.
Yeah, and I feel really good about this. Now, I did mention earlier I was hoping to get myself either Sam Laporta, and I knew that if I didn't get Sam Laporta within that second round, I'm gonna wait until much later now. Which, when I say much later, I mean like the sixth round, maybe see if someone like Mark Andrews can fall to me. But now you see right here, we saw McBride, Bowers, and Kincaid all go within that fourth round. Now, I'm not gonna try to reach to match it. The way I always take a look at it is if you see that a position is flying off the board, I'd rather have you zig when others zag. That way you can at least get a positional advantage. Now, however, in this case, I still don't feel the need to get myself a tight end. But what I do see and that I'm really excited about, I'm so glad that you said you were not going to take Tua. I at least get a stack that I'm going to be really excited about, and that is getting Tua with Tyreek Hill. That will complete back at least in one position with one quarterback. And now, as I'm looking at the landscape, I have two options here. Now, I could get myself a running back with Kenneth Walker and Josh Jacobs, Rashad White, who Spencer is such a big fan of. But I would much rather secure myself another wide receiver that is going to get a lot of usage. And that's why I'm going to go ahead and take DJ Moore. So that way I now have Marvin Harrison Jr. to go along with two veterans that are going to get so much volume, and that's Tyreek Hill and DJ Moore. And as we see there, after I make my pick, we see Kenneth Walker fly off the board, which now sets Mr. Spencer Smith for his fifth round selection.
Yeah. So first of all, great draft. Definitely love the selection there with Tua. And you got to make your bet. Is it going to be DJ Moore or is it going to be Keenan Allen that becomes the wide receiver one, the more reliable wide receiver for Caleb Williams? Because, like I said in one of my videos I made not too long ago, it took a historic season fantasy-wise by CJ Stroud to uphold two wide receivers. So Caleb Williams is going to have another just back-to-back. We're going to have historic seasons all over again for him to uphold to. My bet is DJ Moore. Your bet is DJ Moore. We'll see. But here with my pick, we have got a plethora of wide receivers we could go with. I still need another quarterback. I've got a plan. I still need another quarterback, and I'm going to make a decision here. I'm going to make a decision here that would normally be against my better judgment. Don't do this. This guy's let you down time and time again. But there's somebody new in town who can daggone sling the ball. Okay? With that in mind, I'm going to secure one Kyle Pitts. So we are going Kyle Pitts.
Wow.
We are going very early. I understand that. But when you look at my team that I do like right now, it does stink. I could not get Jared Goff, but we will get a stack out of this. We will get a stack out of this somewhere, even if it's a pathetic stack. But nonetheless, Justin Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, and Kyle Pitts is who I am looking at right now. You were looking at Anthony Richardson, Tua, Marvin Harrison, Tyreek Hill, and DJ Moore. Back on the clock here, and we've seen some players have fallen, but I'm not going to lie to you, I got a little bit sniped. I wanted Jonathan Brooks, and he went the pick before me.
Before. You know what, Spencer, may I ask you as well, as we see the draft board and as we see our teams really playing out here, I actually am proud that you didn't get your second quarterback here. And I think it's understanding ADP, and I think this is probably what you did as well, because you're seeing now that most teams have their second quarterback, you're not going to see much quarterbacks fly off the board, right? So now you're seeing some other teams taking wide receivers, and you see the only quarterbacks that were taken were some risky ones. Not that we don't believe they'll be solid, but having McCarthy as your second quarterback when there's still so much value a little bit later on to get a veteran that could actually provide you some immediate impact, I think is really important. So, for example, you see McCarthy and May go back to back within the fifth round, and then you see just a plethora of wide receivers and running backs, pretty good mix, mainly it being wide receivers there. So what are you thinking now with this sixth round? Are you thinking about doubling up at wide receiver? No, sorry, doubling up at the running back position, or are you thinking about maybe securing yourself that second running back?
Yeah, so right here, I had my eye on a few different running backs. So One was Jonathan Brooks, and really that pick would have not been to be my RB2. That would have been he will like I have to pick him here, but he's going to be on my bench, and then I'll pick another one. The other one that I had was Derrick Henry. Of course, he went a little early as well. He's no longer there. So now I'm sitting here. Best running backs available are going to be players like a DeAndre Swift, like a Joe Mixon, like a Ramondre Stevenson, Javonte Williams, excuse me, or I could play the field again, wait till my next one, and go get a Tony Pollard, a Najee Harris, who we know has to go all out this year if he wants that contract extension.
Absolutely.
That is what would make me feel fine about doing that. But right here, I definitely am going to be getting a wide receiver. So right here, I'm definitely going to be getting a wide receiver. I've already got two guys that are established, have got their contracts, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Nico Collins. Nico Collins coming off of a wide receiver 9/wide receiver 12, whichever format you play in season. Amon-Ra St. Brown coming off of a wide receiver 3 season. So right here, I'm fine taking a little bit of risk. There's Deebo Samuel. I'm not going to take him. There is Brian Thomas, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Devontae Adams, Ladd McConkey, Jaden Reed, and Mike Evans. Now, for the sake of this, I am going to, first of all, eliminate the surefire picks only because I want to intentionally try to be a little risky with this pick. And so I am going to go Ladd McConkey to pair with Justin Herbert. I am not going to be able to get him at the turnaround. It's just not going to happen. So I'm going to go Ladd McConkey, and then we'll see what happens with this next pick.
Right. So here's the way, and here's a little tip too I want to give you guys. So I'm here at the turn. I'm going to get 2 back-to-back picks. So as I looked at the board here, as we were getting closer to Mr. Spencer's pick, we saw that he already had a tight end with Kyle Pitts. So I was looking, okay, I have my eyes on one that I even mentioned, and thankfully he's still there, which is Mark Andrews, right? So I have 2 back-to-back picks here. So what I'm going to do is I like myself some DeAndre Swift to be my first running back. But I think, and I have a while after these 2 picks until I select again, and I believe that it's going to get really dry really quick. But what I want to do is, because it is a tight end premium league, I'm going to go ahead and secure myself my tight end, get myself Mark Andrews here, and from there round out this. Well, rather actually begin the 7th round with my first running back. And even though I've spoken about Ramondre a lot and how I believe that even Joe Mixon has a very small window to be successful, I would much rather go with DeAndre Swift. He's much younger, and I believe that with the weapons that are there, I know that availability concerns as far as injuries have been something that have always been around DeAndre Swift. But I think if he's not necessarily the lone running back, if he has a good balanced offense, I think he could be really effective. So I feel really comfortable taking DeAndre here in the 7th round as my first running back, being that I've already secured my 2 quarterbacks. I have 3 wide receivers that I'm very happy about. And of course, I have my tight end that will be an elite one, being that he's essentially the number 1 target for Lamar Jackson. So let me go ahead and select DeAndre Swift. And then we see Brian Thomas go for team 11, which now sets up Mr. Spencer Smith for his 7th round pick.
Yep. Yeah, and this one's pretty easy for me. So I selected Kyle Pitts with the hope of being able to land Kirk Cousins here around here. So Kirk Cousins is going to be my pick. So I get to secure my second quarterback. And, I've got the couple of stacks here. So Kirk Cousins with Kyle Pitts. Now, I drafted Ladd McConkey, but this being Dynasty, I know he's probably not going to be an immediate impact player. So with the pick there, it was I know I can't get him later. I'm going to go ahead and take him now. He'll sit on my bench. So in turn, I really will have to fill that spot. And here we are again. I'm going to be able to land my guy, my running back 2. Don't even have to think about it. We're going Najee Harris. So
yeah, and you know what, the way
to see that.
Yeah, and the way that you set up your team too, like I like what you said as well, because you went with McConkey knowing that, okay, this guy might not be an impact player right away, but with the way that you built your team, you don't need him to be your wide receiver 1, because you have your Amon St. Brown, you have your Nico Collins, and you also have yourself a stack with your option with Kirk Cousins as well as with Mr. Kyle Pitts, which gives you a good boost there, considering that this also is a tight end premium league as well. So good selection there, really good approach. Okay, let me see. Now I'm up for my next 2, and I'm actually really happy with how it's actually shaping out. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself another running back here. I do like Tony Pollard here, being that he's not necessarily in the same situation as he was in Dallas. But I really want to see how it'll look like if I get myself Zamir White. here to round out my second running back. Yeah, there we go. So that's pick went through. And I'm going to do something very similar to what you did, Spencer. I'm going to now go ahead and go my first. Well, I mean, I guess I can already say that I already have a rookie with Marvin Harrison, but I'm going to go ahead and go with Ricky Pearsall. I would love to see what my team looks like with having much more of a younger look now that I have my veterans with Hill as well as Moore. So I'm going to go ahead and take Ricky Pearsall here. I know I'm punting on Christian Kirk as well as Amari Cooper, but I want to go a little bit younger with these selections. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and take Ricky Pearsall here to be my first, I guess you can say, experiment rookie pick. Being that
Yeah,
we're
I
pretty
like the
sure
Zamir
Marvin
White
Harrison's going to
pick
be good.
this late because
Yeah.
when we're going this late in the draft, you really got to start looking for running backs that are going to at least show the potential to have the better upside.
Right.
And who knows what they're going to do next year, but the Raiders have shown us that Zamir White's going to be the guy. So
Yeah.
definitely really like that pick. Here I am. I need to fill out this other flex spot. Definitely going to be going wide receiver. So the wide receivers that are here, Amari Cooper, Xavier Legette, Chris Godwin, and Calvin Ridley. And then, of course, you get the Keenan Allens, which I'm out on. Hollywood Brown. Did Sleeper changed Marquise Brown to Hollywood Brown on Sleeper? Huh.
It did. Yeah.
See that. That's pretty funny. So yeah, really, I'm pretty much just kind of set on either Amari Cooper or Calvin Ridley. And
Nice.
so Amari Cooper, even with the turmoil that they had at a quarterback last year, coming off of wide receiver 20, Calvin Ridley coming off of wide receiver 18. But I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley. So I
Nice.
really like Calvin Ridley. I really like Amari Cooper as well. But with the contract that Ridley just got, I feel like while they might have similar production this year, excuse me, I'm going to get just a few more years out of Calvin Ridley than I will Amari Cooper. And of course, in Dynasty, that's what we're wanting. So here I am
Yeah,
back
and
on the
then
clock.
right,
Go
and
ahead.
then as you're making your selections too, you're seeing again quarterback is getting really light. We see Bo Nix go in that last round, and then we see a much healthier balance between quarterbacks as well as running backs. And I feel very happy that we made our tight end selections now as well, because now you're seeing the Evan Ingrams, who I think is a great value there as well. Dallas Goedert and Cole Kmet now off the board, which sets you up for your next pick as well. Are you thinking over here just securing yourself more running backs? Are you looking at wide receivers? How do you approach now as we get to the double digits, actually now near the tail end of this draft?
So I'm actually going to go with another quarterback right here. So I want
Okay.
to secure, and mostly it's because of the risk that I am plagued with Kirk Cousins. I
Yep.
love Kirk Cousins for the next couple of years, but we just never know. Now, of course, the
Yep.
next pick I'm going to make it still comes with risk, but I do believe that Will Levis could definitely give us something over the next couple of years. I know that he's basically on a 1-year prove it deal this year, but they
Yeah.
have set him up for success this year with Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears behind him, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd. I mean, they have tried everything they can to set him up. And we know that with Brian Callahan, this is going to be a lot more pass heavy game than run heavy. So I'm going to go with Will Levis here, lock up that QB3, and we'll kind of see what happens.
Yeah, and I think this is a good pick for you as well. You want to secure as much upside, especially considering that we know that Kirk Cousins, there's the concerns about how he's going to look after the Achilles tear. But yeah, I think Will Levis is a great pick there, knowing that he's going to be minimal risk. This is already now basically your first choice within your bench, right? So this is someone that could
Mm,
come in, hopefully catch some lightning in a bottle for you and your roster. So here we go,
right.
which now follows up with Deshaun Watson, which now sets me up for 2 straight picks. And essentially now my first few bench spots. Let's see, I see there's quarterback, Nick Chubb. I'm a little bit worried about, so I won't mess with him. I'm gonna go ahead and take myself Jamison Williams here. I just think he's gonna be in a
Great
good
pick.
situation,
Great pick.
being that he's gonna be filling in for the vacated Josh Reynolds, who saw some pretty good usage last year. I think that Jamison Williams will be that deep threat that Jared Goff will feast off of. So let me go ahead and draft myself Jamison Williams here as my
Great
first
pick.
pick, and then I'm very happy with my wide receiver room right now. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and shut down my running back room a little bit more with some more certainty. And I'm going to go with the veteran here. And actually, as I'm talking through, I see a player that I guess I didn't pay my attention to that's there as well. But I'm going to go with Zach Moss anyways. So I'm going to go with Zach Moss there.
Great pick. Great pick. I didn't know who you were going there. I was like, he's taking a veteran. Is he going to go Zach Moss or is he going to go James Conner? Is he going to go
Yeah.
Zach Moss or James Conner? So I'm gonna take the adverse to that. So I'm gonna take James Conner. I
Nice.
believe that before Trey Benson gets his run either later this year or definitely next year, we're gonna get one more good year of James Conner.
I couldn't agree more.
And look, he's my RB3, right? So if anything happens to Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, I can plug him in for a few games, and I feel confident that James Conner will be able to just give me what I need. Right? We're here in the 11th round. I'm not needing him to be one of my top 2 running backs on my team. So
right
now we're back. So now
yes we are.
I'm back on the clock here, and we're really getting into the thick of this trash down here. So there's a couple players I really like, and I'm not going to go running back anymore. Here I'm really probably just going to my next 2 picks are going to be wide receiver.
Okay.
A part of me says to go against my absolute gut and go Quentin Johnston, but I'm immediately going to go. My first one's going to be Michael Wilson because I don't want the computer or you to be able to take him away from me. I really believe that Michael Wilson's going to be the wide receiver 2 for Kyler Murray. And I really do believe in Michael Wilson. I think that he's going to be look, it could not work out. But I think with how efficient he was with the opportunities given and the very little amount of time we got to see with him and Kyler Murray together, it was very nice. So my first of these 2 picks that I got here is going to be Michael Wilson.
Nice. Yeah, very, very good. And that's where, just so what I was looking at? I was looking at my this round as well. I was hoping to get Joshua Downs because I have the Anthony Richardson stack there potentially if I went that route, but I wanted to at least get myself a third starter that would be effective at the running back position, which is why I wanted to go with Zach Moss there as opposed to, well, actually, no, and actually James Conner does fall into that category as well. So now that I'm here, I want to get myself another quarterback to essentially secure myself some insurance just in case anything happens. And I couldn't be happier with one being, of course, Matthew Stafford there. So I'm going to go take Matthew Stafford because, again, I'm not going to have him be my QB1 or even my QB2. He's going to be more of a bye-week fill-in and I think an elite one at that. And then now that we see how the team is looking, I basically have 2 more picks left. So I'm going to go ahead and secure myself another wide receiver. And I'm going to go ahead and take, who do we have here? I see Cortland Sutton, but no, I'm going to go with the aforementioned Quentin Johnston. I know he was somewhat of a disappointment, but I think that with now McConkey there, this will at least have to minimize the, I guess you could say reliability that you would need to place on Quentin Johnston for your fantasy teams, but being that he's a 13th round pick, I feel really comfortable with this selection here, believing that Los Angeles will find a better way to utilize him as opposed to how they used him last year.
Yep. All righty. Well, my next pick here, I'm glad you didn't take him. And this definitely is the part where you can't just follow ADP. I mean, my Michael Wilson pick was 3 picks before my next, pick in the next round. So with this one, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going Jermaine Burton. I believe that with the possibility of T. Higgins and more than likely being out, that's why they drafted Jermaine Burton, 6 foot 194 guy. I believe that, in the 3rd round as well, he had a 4.45 40. I believe that he was possibly drafted to be that T. Higgins replacement if he leaves, but we'll see.
Right.
But with me back,
which
on the
now
board
brings
here.
which now brings you back as we get ready for our second to last picks and my last 2 coming up.
Yep. So here, let's see here. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with another tight end. I'll go Chikakonkwo. Don't know how I feel about him. I was really in on him like everybody else was to start the season last year, but highly disappointing. But I'll just round out my backup tight end, and we'll see what I do on my last pick here.
Yeah, I just got totally bummed out. I got literally sniped. I was looking for Rashid Shaheed. I mean, essentially the number 2 wide receiver there in New Orleans behind Chris Olave. Not much target competition there. Whatever. Let me see. Let's go ahead and now here is a pick that I believe would still be there for me if I was like picking somewhere later into this draft. Rather, if I was picking, like, for example, here in the top, and I'm going to go ahead and get myself Antonio Gibson. I think he's slated for a bounce back season. I know that this offense in New England isn't one that is going to be very good, but I believe that Gibson has such a unique skill set that will get him some usage. I think he's a better pass catching back in that New England offense, though I think Ramondre is more than capable. But I'm gonna just go and just get myself a high upside pick there with low risk, and I'm gonna go ahead and get myself. I was gonna go. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get Joshua Palmer. I'm not really a big fan of doubling up on the
Good.
same team, but I just love his production when he filled in for Mike Williams last year, was more than capable and really filled in that wide receiver 2 slot. So it's going to be a competition between Quentin Johnson and Joshua Palmer for me, and I feel comfortable having
Yeah.
both of them on my bench.
Yeah, so my next pick here was going to be Demario Douglas. I really like Demario Douglas and what he was able to do in some of the situations last year, but I really like Javon Baker and what we're hearing out of camp. Now, can't really take it to, you got to take it with a grain of salt, but I'm going to
Right.
go with the rookie and Javon Baker, see what we can get out of him. And that's going to be my final pick in this draft. So to recap, this is what the teams look like, and we'll take screenshots of our teams, and I'll put a poll up on Twitter later today. Let y'all vote on who y'all liked, whose team y'all like better. And for this Superflex third round of reversal, tight end premium draft, my team ended up being Justin Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Kyle Pitts, Lad McConkey, Calvin Ridley, Kirk Cousins, Will Levis, James Conner, Michael Wilson, Jermaine Burton, Chikankwu, and Javon Baker. And Ivan's team ended up being Anthony Richardson, DeAndre Swift, Zamir White, Marvin Harrison, Tyreek Hill, Mark Andrews, DJ Moore, Ricky Pearsall, Tua Tagovailoa, Jamison Williams, Zach Moss, Matthew Stafford, Quentin Johnston, Antonio Gibson, and Joshua Palmer.
Very, very good there. So I'm just right now sending screenshots over. So Spencer Smith, you guys can make your selections. Let me go ahead and get his roster here as well. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I think the main takeaway here is that it is so much fun to experiment. And I think Spencer said this really well. No, not I think. I know he said this really well. So Spencer said this earlier into the show. He had said that when it comes to mock drafts, it's one thing when it's the CPU. Trust me, it gets really wonky and really fun once you start getting people involved, because you'll see some picks that make you be like, what? Wait, what were they thinking? But it really does at least help you get as prepared as possible, so that way you feel comfortable with your strategy. But yeah, Spencer, go ahead and put that on the poll, and so that way people can make their selection and obviously choose me as the better pick for their mock draft.
Right.
But let's go ahead, man. Let's go ahead and get into the verse of the week, sir. Let me go
Yes,
ahead and
sir.
have you kick it off for us.
Absolutely. My verse of the day, verse of the week here, it comes from Romans 8:6. Very short, but straight to the point. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Be sure this week to be spiritually minded. Stay in the word. Make sure you're praying. And just remember that. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is a life and peace.
Amen to that. Let me go ahead and bring up myself here as well. Good stuff there, Spencer. So my verse of the week, I had to open up the good old scriptures here to reference mine. And mine's going to be Luke chapter 8, verse 39. And this one actually is a story that takes place in the New Testament. And this is where Jesus heals a man who was demon possessed. And after he heals this man, the last sentence of this story reads as follows. It reads, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." And the man went away, proclaiming throughout the whole city how much Jesus had done for him. And I just wanted to share this because I think it's so easy to at times take for granted, so easy to at times forget how good we may just have our lives. And I think it's so easy to get preoccupied with the things that we may be lacking and the things that we don't have. And I think it's so important to proclaim how good God has been. And even as a believer, someone who's been saved for quite some time, I want to make it a constant reminder to even make sure that I'm sharing with maybe friends, not maybe in a super spiritual way, but just say, you know what, I'm so grateful that I was able to, I don't know, have a good weekend with my family. And I say, oh yeah, you know what? Like, say if someone asks me, hey, how was your weekend? Oh, you know what? Thank God, it was really great. Or if someone shares some like like some good news with me, I'm like, oh wow, praise God, that's really awesome. Like I'm really happy that you were blessed with that. You know what I'm saying? And I think just
Yeah.
verbally, just training yourself to always have a attitude of gratitude goes a long way, and always pointing it
Yes,
back
sir.
to, of course, Jesus Christ being the one that is the author of all things in our lives. And yeah, I think that's just a fun encouragement for you, is just to be just to proclaim the goodness of God and see how that'll make a huge pivot within your life. And I think that when we are able to have an attitude of gratitude, great things are able to open up for our lives.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode, fellas and ladies and gents. So this one was a good one. Like we said, we're going to be doing some more mock drafts throughout the off season. So y'all get ready, y'all get prepared. Make sure you absolutely follow us and subscribe here on these podcasts platforms, Apple, Spotify, and you can find us on Instagram at Dynasty Wire, on TikTok at Dynasty Wire, and on Twitter, which is where this poll is going to be, also on Instagram as well, at the Dynasty Wire. So make sure you give us a follow over there. And Ivan, close us out, my friend.
Yes, sir. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. On behalf of Mr. Spencer Smith and Mr. Ivan Herrera, this has been the Dynasty Wire. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Alrighty, man.